Are you in to leave up to mine? I don't owe no one, no obligation. No one owes me none, so everything is fine, fine. I am that I am, I am, I am, I am. I am that I am, I am, I am, I am. I am that I am, I am, I am, I am. I am that I am, I am, I am, I am. Serious business. There is a time for everything, and for everything there is a season. So man and man must reason. So I think it's prime time that we address some more issues. Simple information I will use. No rocket science to get you confused. So relax your mind, make sure everything is fine, while I take you down a poetic line. Trick us with campaign promises, we won't stay at ease. That's the way it is. We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain, but you now refrain, you now refrain. I remember you say Liberation Day, and I ask, you sure is that you wanna say? Cause you sounded so good to believe. And deception is a powerful thing when you lose your rightful thinking. So we voted for the bling. But you trick us with campaign promises, we won't stay at ease. That's the way it is. We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain, but you.
And a special good night to you, Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, the rest of the Eastern Caribbean. All of you listening locally, regionally, and internationally. Once again, it is time for Talking Points. My name is Sheldon Scott. I'll be taking you up until the 10 o'clock hour.
So says 11.
Maybe a little after.
Promises, we won't stay at ease.
Program note, tonight's program is pre-recorded, so I am not actually in studio at this time. Yeah, it's been taped a little earlier today.
Cool parables say you know what you have, but you don't know what you go get. So cherish what you have to diminish regret. But what on earth lasts forever? Not even things created by the great Jehovah.
So you won't get me if you're calling tonight.
Yellow vibes to flow. But boy, one song I sing, one bell.
Yeah, it is a pre-recorded program.
We didn't know, we never know yellow would have treat us so. When you trick us with campaign.
That said, let me say a special happy birthday to my big brother, Hinkson. Yeah, Hinkson, happy birthday to you, bro. I'm going to repeat it later in the program. Next thing you're joining a little late and thing, you understand?
Giving NNP more fame. Past administration, the cause of frustration.
Yeah, me and my brother are both April born. Yeah, this is my month as well. I won't say what day. After the day, I'll go tell all you.
Can't give you attention. Economic recession, the cause of poverty in the land. Economic recession.
And we're going to take this one from the top. Yeah, you know, watch that team's I like to tell all you, man. Yeah.
Please don't forget, I'm just practicing to be a poet. Not qualified as yet, but have no fear. I'm gonna get there.
So I'd like to thank all of you joining via Facebook, those of you joining via YouTube.
Live up to your expectations.
You know, as usual, we just take a few minutes to let the audience build, because I know, even if I'm not in studio, I know the audience has to build. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes to let the audience build before we start into our discussions for tonight. We have several things to speak about. So remember to call a friend, call a family member, even call your enemies. Tell them that Talking Points is on. Your enemy might become your friend. You understand? All right.
I am that I am. I am that I am. I am that I am. I am. I am that I am. Serious business. There is a time for everything, and for everything there is a season. So man and man must reason. So I think it's it's prime time that we address some more issues. Simple information I will use. No rocket science to get you confused. So relax your mind, make sure everything is fine while I take you down a poetic line. Trick us with campaign promises, we won't stay at ease. That's the way it is. We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain, but you now refrain. You now refrain. I remember you say Liberation Day, and I ask, you sure is that you wanna say? Cause you sounded so good to believe, and deception is a powerful thing.
And folks, remember, this Thursday from 8 p.m., we will be having an interview with Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell. All right, so we're looking forward to that one this Thursday from 8 p.m. You'll be getting it via the Talking Points page. You'll be getting it via the New National Party page, Dr. Mitchell's page itself, and various social media platforms. You'll be seeing it on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, all over, as well as several radio stations will be joining us. We know Real 91.9, 91.5, Sister Ryle, Karakou 92.9, We Noise Radio out there in Brooklyn, and there should be one or two other stations joining us. We'll give you further information on that as the week progresses. All right, so on Thursday night from 8 p.m., we know we're tuning in because Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, former Prime Minister and Leader of the Opposition, will be doing an interview and speaking on a lot of local issues. Yeah, issues that are reflective of what you are going through. All right, so that will be taking place on Thursday from 8 p.m.
When you trick us with campaign promises, we won't stay at ease. That's the way it is. We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain, but you now refrain. You now refrain. They began with the blame game, giving NNP more fame. Past administration, the cause of frustration. Past administration, chief of corruption. Then to economic recession, we can't give you attention. Economic recession, the cause of poverty in the land.
So for those of you just joining us, remember tonight's program is pre-recorded, so we won't be taking calls tonight, but you will be getting a lot of information, believe me.
We won't stay at ease, that's the way it is. We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain, but you now refrain. You now refrain. All your projects are stuck in a pipeline, but when asked, how is the country going? Oh, fine. We are looking into it.
So first of all, what I want to say to all of you is, for those of you that are out on the nation's roads right now, yeah, please be safe. Remember, on Thursday night, our last program for last week, I did indicate that a lot of craziness, madness, nonsense takes place on our nation's road when it comes to Easter. It is a long weekend because, for instance, individuals that don't work on a Saturday, they've got Friday off, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and a lot of craziness tends to take place. People tend to use this time of the year to do their round the island trip. They go around the island, visit friends, relatives, and that sort of thing. And along with that, a lot of drinking tends to take place. And we see some sort of driving taking place on the road, particularly by, I don't really want to single out any one group of people, but I'll have to do it for this instance. Younger drivers, and especially new drivers, people who've just gotten their driver's license, and tend to think that driving fast is the best way to go. So we see a lot of madness taking place on the roads. I spoke about the instances with the people who are driving the bikes, the bike riders and so on. Now, by and large, the Grenada Bikers Association promotes safe driving. The Grenada Bikers Association is no joke association, They promote that you're driving, you're riding and so, but you're riding safely. So they promote that people have the proper safety gear, the speed that they're driving with and all this sort of thing. They promote that. But you see, you have some people that are in groups and not necessarily members of the Grenada Bikers Association doing some madness out there. I received a call on Friday morning. Yeah, Good Friday morning. I was at home, received a call from one of the listeners who was telling me a situation where one of the bikers slammed into their son's vehicle and fled the scene in Corinth, in St. David. So that individual They hit the vehicle. They crashed into that vehicle. Apparently, the bike was still in a drivable state. So they left the scene without exchanging any information, no insurance information, no anything. They fled the scene. And the situation you had there was that there was a pregnant person in the vehicle that they hit who ended up in hospital. That's the sort of madness we've been speaking about. That's the sort of nonsense that we've been saying we need to avoid. Because in this instance, 1, they were driving recklessly. 2, they hit a vehicle. So it wasn't just they driving recklessly and they crash into an inanimate object somewhere that just them alone get injured or they mash up the bike. They slammed into a vehicle that was transporting a pregnant woman and caused injury to that woman to the point of where she ended up at hospital. So again, for those of you still on the roads tonight, those of you who, for the rest of the week, because we know there's a massive show that will be taking place this weekend. A massive show that will be taking place this weekend. And we know that many of you will be out on the roads again. If you're feeling sleepy, take a sleep. Nothing is wrong with stopping, park somewhere. There's Grenada. You could park up somewhere by the side of the road by the cocoa and take a sleep. Nobody ain't going and interfere with you. You know that. This is not some countries if you do that, you have to worry about somebody come and carjack you and that kind of thing. No. There's Grenada. You could park up at the side somewhere and take a rest. It is better that you park up somewhere and take a sleep, whether it's a 10-minute or a 15-minute power nap. But at least park up and take a rest if you're feeling tired. And if you know you've been drinking, at least try to get some rest or so before you jump into a vehicle where 1, you're tired, 2, you're inebriated because you've been drinking alcohol, and for those that smoke the thing, you smoke your thing, you drink alcohol and you're tired, and then you want to jump behind the wheel of a vehicle and drive. You're not only endangering your life, you're endangering the lives of others and even the unborn. From what I was telling you took place on Friday. You're even threatening the lives of the unborn. I did make a post over the weekend asking the Royal Grenada Police Force to look into this thing because I know, for instance, I'm down in the Frequenty area and I know what was taking place there during Thursday night and Friday and so on. When some of the bikers came out from a particular location and then 3 o'clock in the morning you jump up because you're hearing this thing like gunshots, only to realize it's a bunch of bike men that spinning coffum in the middle of the... Yeah, you ain't heard that term in a long time. Spinning coffum. Spinning coffum in the middle of the road, down in Calais Junction. And drag racing basically along the Maurice Bishop Highway between the airport and down the stretch. So you're hearing the noise and so on. It woke up many people in the area because I did see messages from other people in the area on social media, and other people in the area were speaking about it. And this is supposed to be fair. I see someone challenging me on my Facebook page. I refuse to answer stupidity. So that's why I didn't answer you, Dwight. I refuse to answer stupidity. Yeah? Because if I'm making a post about something that's affecting me, you can't come telling me about what goes on in another country. I live in Grenada, the best country on earth. And I want it to remain the best country on earth. So to come making an ignorant, stupid statement about what goes on in other countries has nothing to do with me. Yeah? We live in Grenada and we want to maintain a certain level. Look at what's going on in other countries. We see what's going on in St. Lucia and in Jamaica and in Trinidad and in St. Kitts. And even in Barbados, as much as they try to keep it quiet and so on. Even in St. Vincent, we see what's going on in those countries. The level of criminality, the number of murders that are taking place there, and just the Wild West mentality. Are we supposed to allow it to creep into our own country? No. And as such, again, I'm calling on the Royal Grenada Police Force to do what is necessary. We know they're capable. Look, you had a man shot and killed here in Grenada, and the Royal Grenada Police Force find the individual already. Other countries, there's an unsolved murder. But here in Grenada, our police officers have already found who was responsible for doing that. And I'm saying that we need to ensure that our country remains peaceful. that our country remains the safe destination. That when tourists are doing a search and they're trying to find out what is one of the safest destinations in the Caribbean, they find Grenada at the top of the list. Because I am not one of the people who are going to do as some others did when they were in opposition and bad talk their country to the point of where they're trying to scare people away from coming to their own country. I'm not going to engage in that sort of nonsense. I'm a patriotic Grenadian. I ain't engaging in that. But you had some people, when they were in opposition, were giving the impression that Grenada was a failed state, that we were something akin to Somalia. Yeah, like we were Somalia. Like we had warlords running all over Grenada. No, we have issues here. And when we speak on the issues on this program, it's because we are seeing trends that are taking place in other Caribbean territories that we don't want repeated here. As such, we're saying, deal with it now. So when we say there has been a situation on the port and we don't know if it's returned, we don't know if it's not happening, we don't know. There has been a situation on the port of St. George where goods, articles, have been leaving the port and coming out without going through the due diligence system. Where what's supposed to be foodstuff, but we don't know what else has been in between there, have been leaving the port of St. George, coming off the port of St. George, and that the proper checks and balances were not taking place. We are saying simply that that has to be investigated and has to be looked into. We are also hearing that a particular government minister, sitting government minister, in particular, we are hearing allegations that it is the MP for St. George South has been involved in such activity. We're hearing those allegations, and we're saying investigations need to uncover who were involved and not just try to penalize one person who is working on the port, but the people who were involved otherwise. The people who were the recipients of the act that took place there. So that you don't just try to penalize the individual who was working on the Port Authority and who it is alleged is the person that was allowing the goods to leave, but that you also deal with the individuals who were the ones taking the goods off the port. But you realize now, they're afraid to have that conversation. They're afraid to do that investigation because it seems as though they're afraid that it may turn an allegation into truth. So far we've heard the allegation. Yeah? We know as well that there have been allegations against the current cabinet secretary as well in relation to similar activities. We've heard that. Ask yourself, why was the present cabinet secretary transferred out of the customs department? Why did they find themselves outside of customs? Yeah? What led to that? Why did that happen? So you can't have a situation where there are question marks over people who are holding the reins of our country, and we're seeing what's going on in another country and we expect it to just say nothing. So we're supposed to allow our country to devolve into what we're seeing happening in St. Lucia right now, where you have to call the RSS to come over and try and save some of these people? Where you're murdering down to children in St. Lucia? Children being murdered? Where in Trinidad, a simple walk, you could disappear and then they find your bones 9 and 10 years later? Where in Jamaica, there's certain communities that you just can't go into? Or St. Vincent, where you're hearing murder here. At least it started to ease up in St. Vincent a bit. But can we allow our country to get to that stage? Or should we ask the questions and deal with those issues now, at this stage, before it could get to that? Yeah? Because we know with this government, you hear all sorts of things. For instance, let me use an example here. It seems as though the MP for St. George Northeast, He reminds me of someone they call Teflon Don. You all do a little Google search on who Teflon Don was. Yeah, was a gangster based in New York. Italian mob. But they call him Teflon Don because nothing used to stick to him. No matter what you throw at him, it just used to bounce off. So they brought all kind of charges against him and they weren't able to get him into court until they did. Yeah, they couldn't get him charged and get through with any of the charges that they brought against him. So they used to call him Teflon Don. And what we're seeing in Grenada is like we have a Teflon run. Because you're hearing the allegation that the man sell a whole vehicle without the owner's permission. And that was last month we were hearing that story, right? And by the end of the week, that the story, and I wonder if I have the story here. I may have it somewhere here. Yeah. Remember this article. Remember this article also says that there's supposed to be a joint statement. So I don't know if they're still rolling the joint. I don't know if they in the process of drying out the substance to put in the joint, or they're going to buy the bamboo paper by the neighborhood guy. But up to now, we still can't hear the joint statement. No joint statement. You see, this administration is thriving on the Grenadian habit of just dropping issues after a week or two. So they're hoping that people won't forget all of that about Ron, man. Just ignore it. People won't forget. No, I'm not forgetting. I am not forgetting. To this point in time, we have not heard Miss the Mount Pure lady, former senator. We have not heard her speaking on this issue. So we do not know. We do not know her side of the story because she has not said anything. So we are unaware of whether or not what we've been hearing is truthful from her side. We heard that there was supposed to be a joint statement. It seems as though something is wrong because we can't get the joint statement up to now. We have not been able to hear any joint statement up to this point in time as to what happened in relation to the sale of that vehicle. Nothing. All right? But they feel that we're going to just drop the story, so we're just supposed to drop it. And they believe that that is the type of people that Grenadians are. That we start speaking about something, and after a while, we just drop the story, so it's all well and okay and hunky-dory to just continue in the way that you are going. Remember, within this article, and you see it highlighted there, yeah, Honorable Ron Redhead also said that there are people in the NDC that seem to be against him. Yeah, so people had been pushing the story because like they maybe have a problem with him. That is what we've been hearing. But there's no follow-up in relation to these things. So we hear that story, we see that article and everything that came out, and then there's no follow-up in relation to it. So individuals are just left to go ahead doing what they're doing. Remember, it's the same individual, the same MP was the one that when the Prime Minister was asked about, hey, we're seeing contracts going out and so from the constituency offices and this is not the proper procedure. And the Prime Minister said, well, I'm perplexed. I don't know what you're talking about. And then there was evidence that through his constituency office that there were contracts apparently being issued through the St. George Northeast Constituency Office of the same Teflon Run. Because that's what I'm calling him now, is Teflon Run. Because like nothing is sticking to him. But yet still, the Prime Minister promised an investigation and to get back to the media. He was on last week. I didn't hear him saying anything about it. And I'm pretty sure that nothing has been sent to the media fraternity in relation to that. They quietly in the background may tell him, hey, don't do that again, man. Look, you're making us look bad and thing. And he may tell them, but all your business, boy. You can't tell me nothing. You understand? So that is probably what take place. We don't know because nothing has been said to the media again. It seems as though he's really Teflon Run. Nothing sticks to him. So whether it's you're doing contract and you're telling people on open social media, you're telling people, hey, what, you really want a contract? Well, you need to think. Unless that happened. That happened. They had the whole conversation in front of the world on social media. And then after, you're hearing no a vehicle sell. And there are one or two other things that I'm hearing too. I just ain't ready to go into them yet, you know. There are one or two other things that I'm hearing too that I just ain't ready to get into yet. All right? But we will definitely be getting into those over the next few months and few weeks. Right? So we're hearing these things. We're seeing these things and we want, but what really going on in the country? And then you're trying to get a response from the government. And some people send emails, there's no response. So some people send emails and the response is basically better they didn't send a response because they're saying, well, we can't talk on that. What do you mean you can't talk on that? The people's business. We want to know. And they can't talk on that and they can't talk on this and that sort of thing. And that's what we keep seeing happening here in our country. As I said, folks, the phone lines are not on tonight. This is a pre-recorded program for those of you just joining us. It is a pre-recorded program, and as such, I'm not live in studio, but it is a pre-recorded program.
There is no place in the world like Grenada. Its people are so unique, so fabulous. They take politics real serious. You can't tell a man nothing wrong about his party. He'll deal with you so seriously, and from there on, you are his enemy. But as man, I must open my big mouth to lament on some things you know about. So the bada come attack me. Don't waste your time on a old jungle like me. Pie in the sky, promises and mama guy. Voters say their expectations were too high. Like the old proverb from way back long. You want to be wrong and strong. Some people bawling with their mouth closed. How they do that?
Yeah, and earlier today, I heard of the incident in Grenville where the old church has collapsed into the road and so on. So I hope the authorities do what is necessary and demolish the rest of the thing. And you see, that's why we just say God is a Grenadian. And yeah, believe me, God had to be a Grenadian for that to happen on a day like today. Because it happened today when you have the least amount of people passing through that area. Usually at that hour during a normal working week, you'd have buses passing there with children on it and different things like that. You would have people walking by, sometimes the elderly going about the business. You have people walking past there. You have buses passing there. You have private vehicles and motorcycles, etc. passing there. So for that to happen on a day like today, you have to understand just how much Grenada is blessed. Huh?
I wonder who advising you.
We could be a blessed country with a cursed government, you know.
You promised to improve standard of living, but I'm seeing more pain, hurt, and suffering. Would you stop for a while and listen to me? Please don't send one more family into poverty. They're crying with their mouths closed. How they do that, only God knows. They're afraid to talk your supporters on the attack when they say is that. A man told me.
So again, just calling on you all to be safe tonight. Be safe, well, all the time, but I want you all to be safe tonight. Because we know you have those who coming out from countryside, they're drunk, they're on the road, problems, yeah? I've seen several accidents coming over social media and so over the weekend, all different locations, different parts of Grenada. So far, up to the point in time that I'm doing this program, I've not heard of any loss of life, thankfully. But please continue to be safe. Those of you that have headed to the beach, I hope everybody's got home safe and so on, yeah?
Now they're expecting you to deliver, but your conversation becomes so different. If your mind change, complain and tell us. Remember, you are Grenada, Jesus. You promise happiness and better days, but we sing the opposite. In many ways, man don't go down in record as the worst PM. The poor need
And strange enough, it's I'm doing the program now a little earlier than normal as I'm recording. And while I'm recording, information is coming in on Easter Monday.
Jonah was giving them one, but you offered them two. They took the bait and they voted for you. They say you focus on the rich and middle class, the lower strata, you don't care one ras. Now them out stretched long with fret and regret. They miss the little stipends they used to get. Faith and CJs.
And let me say a special good night to the trade union movement. Yeah, I mean, I listened to, Judas Jude. I wonder if I had the video there. Yeah, let me play a little bit of Judas Jude for you all so that you. No, seriously. I can't understand. My thing is simply this: he's gone and he has agreed to what the government has offered. I'm just making sure I have it here for you. Yeah. So, Jude Bartholomew, who is the president of the Grenada Union of Teachers, recently at a conference in Carriacou, made several negative statements towards the New National Party, as though the New National Party, the same party that actually hired close to 400 teachers before he came in. Yeah, that was under LL, Lloyd and Lewis. Yeah, Lloyd and Lewis, right. It was under him. You had close to, I think it's about 400 or more teachers. I have to get the exact figure, that were brought from the contracted thing permanently into the teaching service and so, right? I wonder if Jude could say, forget LL period of time, I wonder if Jude could say how many teachers have gotten permanent under him. That'd be very interesting to find out how many teachers have gotten, I wonder how many teachers have actually gotten permanent under him. That'd be an interesting figure to find out. But anyway, as far as I'm concerned, Judas Jude has shown his true colors. Yeah, he's showing his true colors, and I'm going to play this for you. Let me just get it queued here. I'm going to play this for you, and you would say what you make of the statements that he is making here.
Now that I have showered some praise upon the National Executive, permit me to talk a bit about my presidency. Think back. Just before I became President General of the GUT in 2020, we had salary negotiations. Both Brother Lyden Lewis and Brother Marvin Andal led the process, and they did a good job in the process. Give them a round of applause. Show some appreciation. When I took over the presidency, it was a difficult time due to COVID-19 pandemic and the NNP administration. We had to go through the process of mediation, but I was never afraid. I led from the front, was never daunted, intimidated, humiliated, but I never wavered. I never gave up. I never disappoint you. I was straightforward with you. A president that you can trust, someone is always fighting on your behalf. I am always above board in everything for you. When teachers were losing hope in their union and duty was losing credibility and respect, I stood firmly and restored it for you. From 12% salary struggle during COVID-19 under the NNP, pension struggle, dark salary struggle, TAMCC struggle, COVID-19 struggle, Mayday struggle, salary negotiations, restoration of TAMCC, and salary increase. Teacher scholars restoration to full-time, regularization and upgrades, although I want the minister to listen because regularization and upgrades, we're in there as yet, and we want to get there soon. So minister, we want to go places. I serve you with distinction, and at the end of the NNP era, when we are now reaping and enjoying the fruits of our labor, a few tried to see if they could have gotten rid of me for this election. It was well-timed and well-orchestrated for this year's duty election, but it did not work. I take comfort from Samuel chapter 16. When Samuel went to Jesse to choose a king, Samuel wanted to choose appearance, but God said to Jesse, look at the heart. Thank you, teachers, for saving the day. Jehovah will always have the final say.
Yeah, and you realize the quotation that was made there in relation to the heart. So he's basically saying straight up that, oh, the NDC has come in to save the day for teachers. But the thing is, he's accepted 13% increase for teachers over a 3-year period. Yeah, but the projections for the inflation for Grenada is way over that. Because even while they've accepted, I believe, 4% for the year 2023, and the projections for inflation from some of the sources that I've gotten information from are above 7%. So they're still 3% behind the amount of inflation. And when we say inflation, remember, we're speaking about the increase in the price of goods and cost of living, right? So, for instance, foodstuff. We've heard that over the last 10 years or so, the price of foodstuff have gone up by roughly about 20%. The cost of living has gone up by 15%. And we're seeing projections that is doubling right now. And what we're seeing is that if you accept 4%, but yet the teachers have to face as much as 6 or 7% inflation, it wipes out any increase that they get. So he didn't give them a buffer of a 1%. Because even after they take that percentage, remember, they still have a situation. They still have a situation where you're paying additional on NIS and other bills and so on. So that is wiping out totally the increase that he has accepted. But luckily, thankfully, the way these things operate, even though he has gone out on his own, because in his mind, he helping the government, as I said, Judas Jude. That is, as far as I'm concerned, that is my perception. You want to take me to court for my perception? That is your damn business. Judas Jude sold out the teachers, as far as I'm concerned. And then the government is trying to use the Fiscal Responsibility Act. But when you see the short and medium term projections, even some of the long term projections for Grenada, you realize that the possibility is that they can pay as much as 7% coming up. That's in my humble view. I'm no economist. Speak to the economists and I'm sure they could follow up on what I'm telling you. They could pay as much as 7%. So he's accepted just to be able to say, well, we've settled and you get any money. Yes, you settled. Okay, right. Teachers getting it as of the 14th this month, or the 15th, if you want to put it that way, they will be getting that increase. Right. Nice, all well, nice and good. But they could have been getting more. And whenever they get it, you know for a fact they have to get it retroactively. So it's not like they're losing anything. They just don't have it in hands at that time. But they're going to have it retroactively. So now, the ball is in the hands of the Royal Grenada Police Force Prisons Joint Negotiating Team and the Grenada Public Workers Union and TAU. Because they are the ones now that have to try to get a better deal, a fairer deal for the workers. And the government could try to use, when the New National Party was speaking about the Fiscal Responsibility Act and that you can't go over a certain figure when it comes to salaries and so on. Is the same group of people that are in power now was saying that NNP wicked. The same group that was saying NNP wicked and they don't want to give workers this and they don't want to give workers that and so on. Now the same set of people have come in and using the same Fiscal Responsibility Act and telling the workers, we can't give you this and we can't give you that because of the Fiscal Responsibility Act. We can't increase this or we can't increase that because of fiscal responsibility. And we know that based on the projections, you could see the projections. Remember, during the budget, they give the macroeconomic plan and so on, and the projections and everything going there. You're seeing that they could give as much as 7%. Whether the teachers' union were badly advised or just that Jude sell out, one or the other take place. One or the other take place. So right now, it's up to the Public Workers Union and so to fight for a proper deal for down to the teachers as well. Because whatever deal is signed with the Public Workers Union, police, and so on, the last union to sign, whatever deal they sign, everybody else have to get it. They wouldn't be getting less. But once they sign for more, everybody getting the more. The same teachers would be bumped up from the percentage they have to the new percentage. Because the projections are that inflation, the rising cost of living, is going to go above 13% over the next 3 years. So to simply say that you're accepting 13% between 2023, 2024, and 2025, when the projections from everybody with common sense, everybody with intellect, and everybody that knows what's going on regionally and internationally and locally, they understand that your inflationary rate in Grenada is going to exceed 13% over the next 3 years, especially with some of the measures that we're hearing whispers that the government want to introduce, including lowering the income tax threshold. And sometimes you all hear these terms and you wonder what I'm speaking about. Personal income tax is paid at a specific rate. I think it's over $3,500, you pay personal income tax. Right? So that's additional money that comes out. Your salary goes to the government, personal income tax. What we're hearing is that they want to lower the rate from people who are earning $3,500 and above, or whatever figure it is. They want to lower it. So it might come down to $2,000 and above. You pay personal income tax. It might even come down to $1,000 and above that you're paying personal income tax. So you widen the income tax base. You increase the amount of people that giving back money to government. And therefore, government has more funds to be able to spend to do different things. Like pay the additional $24,000 per MP that they are receiving on a yearly basis. So you may see the income tax threshold going down. So that some of you who are not paying personal income tax right now may very well find yourself paying personal income tax. But again, the Prime Minister didn't want to be the person that has to do that. So he take himself out of the Ministry of Finance and put Canon Fodder in its place. So he put Mr. Dennis Cornwall there. So when that is being done, when the decision is taken at the cabinet level to do that, I don't know which one of the cabinet, if it's the one that does meet there or the other one of the other cabinets, because more than one cabinet it have right now. Decisions must be taken outside of that room with the people there. Right? So when that decision is finalized and operationalized, the person who is going to be getting the flack on it, Mr. Dennis Cornwall, one, will not be a candidate on behalf of the NDC again. There's one term and done. He ain't bothering with that. Plus the people in River Sally, all kind of things. They're asking where you there. River Sally a Queen show yesterday. They didn't see you. Honorable Peter David name call as a sponsor. You can hear Andal, you can hear Cornwall as St. Patrick's thing. And you had the MP for the Tonga St. George, Honorable Peter David, he name calling. But you can't hear Andal and you can't hear Cornwall name for a St. Patrick's thing. And worse yet, they didn't even attend, so you can't even see them. So, Canon Fodder, the Prime Minister has set Honorable Cornwall up to take the blows, to take the lash. So he put him into a position that when they have to do things like broaden the tax base. So many of you who are listening now, that barely making it with the bit of money that you're getting, going to find it harder to make it because you will end up having to pay more due to personal income tax being introduced at your level. So instead of him staying there, the Prime Minister staying there and deal with that, he ran out and he put the ministry in the hands of Mr. Dennis Cornwall to take the blows for all those things happening. So I pretty well believe, I honestly believe that they will be able to pay. This week Friday, I believe they'll be able to pay salaries on time. The problem will be to maintain it. You might have money this month, you could pay a bill. But do you have the money next month to pay that bill as well? Do you have the system where cash is coming in on a constant basis to be able to pay the bills that have to be paid? Yeah? That's not always the case. But we're seeing the situation where this month, the first month that you're going to have the bi-monthly payments taking place, right? Just before that takes place, the Prime Minister run from the ministry. Say, me, Papa, yo, afraid Grenadian mouth, but I don't stay in there and take that pressure. And the Prime Minister has exited stage left from the Ministry of Finance. And he's gone into the Ministry of Works. And we have some stuff to speak about when it comes to the Ministry of Works and the fact that the Prime Minister has gone over there, Yeah, we have we have some things to talk about when it comes to that one. Remember, folks, it is a pre-recorded program tonight. So you won't get me if you're calling because it is pre-recorded. That's what I let you all know, huh? And a special good night to all listeners via 91.9, 91.5 FM, Real FM. Those of you that may be joining us via 92.9, Sister Isles in Carriacou. But definitely those of you on 94.9, We Noise Radio out there in Brooklyn. A special good night to you all.
Kill somebody. There are some fellas that run in the country and like they think really cannot see. When you want them for something, man, this thing they don't tell you. I want to burn. I feel to cry.
And again, a reminder, Dr. The Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, he will be on Thursday night. We'll be giving you the links to the different stations and the different pages, etc. We will be putting out that information over the next couple days so that you all know exactly where to tune in on Thursday night. But just remember, Thursday night from 8 p.m., you're clearing for at least 2 hours or so. You're clearing a space because that is when Dr. The Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, former Prime Minister and leader of His Majesty's opposition, will be on speaking on several issues of national importance. You're going to hear him speaking and responding to several of the issues. So it's going to be a special interview that's taking place on Thursday night.
There's some fellas that walk in the prison, teaching people to drive for the license. When you want them for something, man, they think they don't tell you. I want to burn. Sometimes.
Yeah, because remember, you had this taking place. Let me see if I could get that. I'm just making sure I get the different things here for you, and we're gonna play this one for you. Let me just get it there. Just remember, these were the words of the Prime Minister recently. These were the words of the Prime Minister very recently.
As you would recall, as part of our measures to address the cost of living, the government had agreed from October 1, 2022 to cap the freight rates charged at the port by the Customs Department to 2019 levels. That's the pre-COVID-19 levels, in an attempt to alleviate the impact of the external cost of inflation driven by significant increases in freight rates. That initial fiscal measure was for 6 months and would have expired as of Friday, the 31st of March. The government has reviewed the report from the Ministry of Finance and from the Customs Department and have analyzed the measure that was taken. The measure was always intended to be temporary. We are satisfied that freight rates are beginning to normalize and are getting closer to pre-COVID levels of 2019. And in the circumstances, the government has taken the decision not to continue with the capping of the freight rates at 2019 levels. So effective as of the 1st of April 2023, freight would be calculated on the current market freight rates. I should indicate that as a result of this measure adopted by the government, the government essentially forwent revenue of approximately $5 million. We want to extend our gratitude to the importers who would have passed on the reduced freight rates as a result of the government measure to our consumers. We note from the analysis coming from the Customs Department that two of the goods which were significantly impacted by the capping of the freight rates was the cost of cement and the cost of imported chicken. And obviously cement is fundamental to the construction industry, and so the construction industry in particular ought to have benefited from that. And all of us who consume imported chicken, chicken being a favorite meat product of our citizens, would also have benefited from that.
Yeah, so I'm still asking the question here today again. Did you benefit? Did you get 50 cents or 75% off of the $5 million that your government gave up on your behalf, that the business community benefited from, but did they pass those benefits on to you, the Grenadian taxpayer? Did you see the basket of goods that you're purchasing, the price of that basket of goods reducing? Did you see it going down? Or did it go the other direction instead? Instead of going down because government is giving concessions and businesses are paying less at the port, that they passed that on to you and it went down? Or did you see it go up? Because I can tell you in my instance, maybe I shop in the wrong places, but I have not seen the prices of foodstuff, the prices of goods going in a negative direction. And when I say negative as in going down, I've seen them going up, but I can't say that I've seen them going down. And that is a concern to me, especially when you give up $5 million. You know what $5 million could I be doing for the economy right now? But they've given up $5 million. But who benefited? The friends. Who benefited? The friends and some family members or some MPs. And maybe even some MPs, you never know, because some MPs had a look at business too, you know. Yeah, they must check the Integrity in Public Life Act on that. But some businesses, yeah, benefited. But did you, the average Grenadian, on whose behalf the government took this measure, saying that it would drive the cost down? Now you could see why they had to leave the Ministry of Finance, because they come with all this cockamamie story on them about reducing the freight cost to the 2019 level is going to be able to reduce the price of foodstuff for many Grenadians. It's going to reduce the price for the importers, and the importers are then going to pass those savings on to the Grenadian people. The Prime Minister could skin and grin as much as he wants, but at the end of the day, $5 million was not passed on to the Grenadian people. It was kept by the business community. And you can't be upset with the business community. They went through the horrors of 2020 and 2021 and even 2022 during the COVID crisis. They lost money. They're operating a business. They ain't there for friends. They're there for money. They don't want friends. They want money. That's what they want. They're not interested in being altruistic. In other words, they're not interested in just being nice people. They're interested on the bottom line, because they could be nice people and go out of business, you know. They could be nice people and then 2 months, 3 months down the road, a year down the road, they're out of business. Or they can keep the savings for themselves and improve the business. Some of these businesses have a board of directors that they have to answer to in relation to the amount of money that they're making. So you don't expect them to take measures and to agree with measures and do things that are really going to cost them to lose money. They're not going to do things that are going to make them lose money. They're not looking to break even. They're looking to make a profit. And if by reducing the cost of the freight to 2019 levels on the port, you are helping them to make a profit, then they're going to make the profit. They're not going to pass the profit on to the Grenadian people. They're not in business to make friends. They're not in business for that sort of thing. They are in business to ensure that they make money. That's the bottom line. That's the middle line and even the top line too. Make money. So to believe that businesses would just hand that money over, I mean, come on, man. And as business people themselves, I know they understand that. They're not going to run a business where they're just making money to give away. They're going to make money they have to have money to continue running the business, to pay the bills of the business and make a little profit on top of that, so maybe they could expand down the road. So you can't vex with the businesses But don't come and watch the Grenadian people and give the impression that $5 million was given to the Grenadian people. That's total nonsense. Total unadulterated nonsense. It is not a situation where that $5 million figure that has been quoted was passed on to the average Grenadian. That is not the case. And I think at times they need to respect our intelligence and stop trying to tie us up with them kind of thing, you know. Yeah.
Let the dollar come down to make the man on the ground. Him not screw face.
So in about 5 minutes, we'll be closing off our first hour.
To the unfortunate one to bear.
Again, remember tonight's program is a pre-recorded program.
Pockets
For those of you that may be itching to call, no, you can't call. We'll be having the call in tomorrow night, yeah?
treasury in some
So definitely on Tuesday night, yes, I will be live in studio and you will be able to call and message and all of that, yeah?
higher stage. Poverty is a crime, so who's doing the prison time? More the people procreate, less dollar circulate. So send down the guns before it's too late. Let the dollar come down to make the man on the ground. Him not screw face, him now end up wrong. Let the dollar come down to the
Again, yeah, Minister of MIA, not Mission in Action, MIT, I think is Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation. Mr. Minister, the fishermen still kind of waiting to hear what's going on because they've been asked to move. They've been asked to relocate. Some of them been told to go up Grand Mall and go down Calais and these kind of things. They've been asked to relocate. Fishermen who have been occupying that zone, some of them, we had a call from one fisherman who was there since 1974. Yeah? There may be others that were probably there even earlier or just a little later. But they've been there for an extended period of time. And we do think some sort of consultation should take place with them when it comes to them relocating. Huh? Yeah, we think some sort of consultation needs to take place with them.
Speedball and cameras, desperate man still looks, we climb over.
But you know, it was very interesting over the weekend. I was doing some reading, and nearly word for word, everything that the Minister of Implementation, Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation has spoken about in relation to the Lagoon Road project or the Karani James Boulevard project, I have realized are contained in a document that was put together by the World Bank in relation to the blue economy and the possibilities for Grenada with the blue economy. I've also realized that that area that has the stumps being placed, the sort of fencing being placed, is actually not owned by the government of Grenada from what I'm picking up, but owned by Camper Nicholson. It was part of the Port Louis expansion. In fact, one of the areas there, the area directly in front of Bryden and Miners, was reclaimed and was used as the point where they were doing the work to expand Port Louis, to put up the piles, and so they were operating out of that as a base of operations. So it was leased to them for a period of time to do that. Afterwards, you had the individual who has, I think it's Compass Shipping or whoever. I'm not sure if it's Compass Shipping themselves, but somebody, they park containers down there and they have the container trailers and so on are parked there and different things like that. Now we see the area being fenced in. I saw the Minister of Implementation speaking on that issue several times on different programs and so, including the NDC program. Yeah, and taking all the praise for the cleanup that has taken place on the Karani James Boulevard. Only to be finding out now that this was done by Camper Nicholson. Because there is a broader plan by Camper Nicholson, and I did see an article online by Miss Sandra Ferguson in relation to this issue immediately after election in July of last year. She did put out an article in relation to the proposed project for that area. Now, we would remember back in 2007, when the original Port Louis project was taking place, one component of it was the possibility of having little cottages along the lagoon. And then you had civil society, inclusive of the same Miss Ferguson and others, coming out and saying that that ought not to take place. So the developers of Port Louis, they abandoned that original idea, even though they had claim to that area. They dropped the idea of doing that project, the cottages along the seashore, well, the shore of the lagoon and that. Now, we're hearing, because remember, the original owners of Port Louis, the now deceased Mr. Peter de Savary, sold over to Camper Nicholson, an international organization, and it seems as though they are looking again at the possibility of doing that project. So we wait to hear what's going on, because part of it included changing that area into a green space that we're seeing there, all the green space talk. And so I saw an article in the New Today last year, basically word for word saying everything that the minister is saying, but it wasn't the minister that was saying it, was a community organization that was saying that. Now we're seeing the minister running in front, Minister Andy Williams running in front and giving the impression that he's the driving force behind what is taking place on the Karani James Boulevard. So it's going to be interesting to see how that develops. And also, not just how that develops, but there's also the aspect where, how can I put this? There's also the aspect that there are other things that we're seeing developing that are sort of linked with what is taking place on the Lagoon Road. And we're going to get into that in the second half of, well, we're into the second half of tonight's program.
Man, a ball and hold them head 'cause them are counting red.
Now, remember, several times I've said to you that on this program, that the intention is to sell the space that the hospital is and to place another facility there. Yeah, several times I've said it to you that the intention is to sell the space where the general hospital is, put a hotel and casino there, and to relocate the hospital to another location. Now, just about 2-3 weeks ago, you had the Prime Minister, the Minister of Health, the Minister of Agriculture, the Minister of Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation, and a technical team from the ministry, the Ministry of Works and others going out to visit a site in Calavini. I think it's about, 90 acres or something like that, owned by Mr. Leroy Nichols. And so in Calavini, and the government was saying they're looking to acquire, the possibility is that they would acquire that property to relocate the general hospital to that location in Calavini. So if you're coming from anywhere and you're going to the hospital, you had to drop in town and take a next bus and go to Calavini to go to the general hospital. I'm just saying, I'm not saying that as in they shouldn't put it there. I'm saying that so that you know what you will have to do. So you're coming from Bolio, you're going to the general hospital. It's not just drop in town and you take the hospital shuttle or you walk up the steps. No, it's going to be a drop in town and you take a bus from town and you go to Calavini and you go to the hospital. Right? So that is what they're looking to do. Put the general hospital in that location. But we have to understand that there has been a project, all right? There has been a project in the making before. And let me just show you a bit of what I'm speaking about. This is a project that was put forward. Yes, it was put forward during the New National Party time by the World Bank, right? So it's a Blue Growth Coastal Master Plan for Grenada. This particular project was sponsored by, right? You had the government of Grenada, right? The Kingdom of the Netherlands, and we'll come back to that one, right? The World Bank, GIDC, etc., etc. These were some of the people that have sponsored that particular program. That's the Blue Growth Coastal Master Plan. Now, it is a suggestion, right, of what can take place in Grenada, of how we could develop to the point where we look something like Hong Kong or Singapore or one of those countries with big hotels and casinos and big sporting complex and all this sort of thing. There are plans in there, for instance, to take over where Port St. George is, to take over the port itself and make there into a visitors center and all this kind of thing. You're taking over. So the St. George port would have to move. And the part of the plan that they were suggesting is to move the port from St. George and place the port instead up in Grenville. so that you do the expansion of Grenville. You remove the port from town, you place the port in Grenville, which is easier for container traffic coming from different locations actually. And that then you redevelop the Eastern Main Road so that can have traffic, the containers and so that have to be coming from that port then down to town would be traveling along the Eastern Main Road. So you have to develop a wider road. You'd have to claim some of the land on both sides of the road because you have to widen the road significantly, and you would have to put in different infrastructure so that the containers that are coming in the Grenville area would then be transported to town and wherever else they have to go. So there's that aspect of it. It would cause more business and so on to be generated in the Grenville area, while you have a different something that would be taking place in St. George, generally developing St. George to that level as well. There's also in that plan the reclamation of the land outside of the National Stadium for a practice football field, some hotels and that sort of thing. All of those are part of that plan. But there's an interesting part to that plan as well. And let me get to it because I want you all to see. And again, yes, this plan was put forward during the period of the New National Party, but the New National Party, as you saw, was not speaking about building a hospital anywhere else. They were saying develop the hospital where it is right now so that you could provide for the people of Grenada, the accident and emergency. You see what has been done there. So that is what the New National Party has been speaking about. The NDC administration have come in and they're speaking about moving the hospital from where it is to another location. And let me give you all an idea. This is some of what I have been speaking about, where you're speaking about the redevelopment of St. George. You could see there an expansion taking place outside of the stadium, reclamation of land outside the esplanade. The hospital, what used to be the hospital, would now be a hotel and casino. Expansion of the Port Louis project, taking over the Carenage and making the Carenage, rebuilding all the buildings around the Carenage, and so moving the fishermen out of there. And remember, Minister Andy Williams and them, they already tell the fishermen down in the Carenage that they had to move. So part of the project that was being proposed, right, for the St. George Blue Development Plan was to move the fishermen from the Carenage and Lagoon Road, send them other places, and then develop. Part of the plan was to develop along the Karani James Boulevard and the specific area that was referred to as belonging to Camper Nicholson. That is the area that we see being fenced off right now, and they're saying not fenced. Well, I don't understand. If you're putting these poles on them and you're concreting them in the ground, how you can tell us that it's not being fenced off? So this is the plan that you're seeing, right? You're seeing what the plan looks like for the development of St. George according to the Blue Growth Development Plan. But I want to show you all this particular one, because this one speaks to what ought to be taking place where the hospital is now. So you see the plans for the hotel where the hospital is. And remember who one of the people that were involved in this the Kingdom of the Netherlands, because I say we're going to come to the Kingdom of the Netherlands just now. But part of the developmental plan is to remove the hospital from where it is, remove the hospital from there, and place instead a hotel and casino with a wraparound road. So you're coming around the Carenage, you don't have to pass under the tunnel again or go up Scott Street and go down into town. You're driving around the Carenage, around where the restaurant and thing is over the water there. Yeah, you're going around. You're driving right around and into town. That road will be taking you back into town itself and so. So again, this is another part of the project that you're seeing there. Let me show you further. Other pictures of the projections of what instead of a hospital could be had in that location. Yes, so you're moving the hospital. But when you move the hospital, this is what they have planned for the area where the hospital is. So these are the plans for that particular area, yeah, where the hospital is. Let me show you another one. Because there are drawings in it. They have concept drawings of what the hotel and casino, where the hospital is. Yeah, they say that area too nice for a hospital. There should be a hotel and casino. Yeah, you're seeing Fort George on top there. Part of the development as well. That's what part of what they're looking to do. They're including Fort George into that development, and they're putting, and they realized just a few months ago, they had a ceremony up at Fort George and thing with part of the project that's taking place there, right? So, yeah, all of this is what they've been planning for with the concept for the hotel instead of hospital. Yeah? So when you hear them speaking about we need to move the hospital with urgency, and there's the urgent need to move the St. George Hospital, just remember that the plan that has been put forward that the Netherlands were part of developing, yeah, just remember that that plan has all of this as part of it, including even this. Yeah, this is, again, another rendering of what the hospital location could look like instead. So instead of the hospital there, we have a massive hotel with casino and that kind of thing there instead. All right? But we have to remember something as well. Yeah? There's something else that I think that we all need to remember. We all need to remember who was the diplomatic representative on behalf of the Kingdom of the Netherlands here in Grenada. Because remember, and let me just pull it back up for you. Remember, right? You could look at the document. Remember, Kingdom of the Netherlands are one of the people, one of the organizations, one of the countries that have been involved in helping develop this plan. And we might want to remember who was the diplomatic representative of the Netherlands here in Grenada. So I went onto this website. I went onto the website of the present Prime Minister's, his website for Mitchell and Company, the law firm, and they're listed. And Mr. Prime Minister, they need to update your website, because you are no longer the diplomatic representative of the Netherlands. I would not give false information here. He gave it up the moment he became the political leader of the National Democratic Congress. He demitted office. He officially resigned, or whatever he had to do, as the diplomatic representative of the Netherlands in Grenada. But it means, as the diplomatic representative of the Netherlands in Grenada, he had a clear understanding and idea of the plans for a hotel instead of a hospital in that location. And if you look at paragraph 4 here, you could see mention of him. And this is not my writing. This is from his website for his business. You can see there that he was the honorary consul for the Netherlands in Grenada. So he knew about this. He knows about this blue plan. The plan that has the putting up of the cottages along the lagoon. The plan that has the intention to remove the hospital and place a casino there and a hotel there instead. He's aware of that. All right, so when we see moves taking place to achieve that, don't give us the impression you're just doing that for the good of the Grenadian people. You're doing that because you very well know who are the people that most likely have the money and coming to go and do what they have to do where the hospital is. So we see there those particular plans. Let me see what else they have there. Yeah, let me see. Yeah, because I even checked the Netherlands page themselves because I wanted to confirm. Because and again, Prime Minister, you need to inform them that you are no longer the honorary consul, because it seems as though they still have you down as the honorary consul for Grenada, and you still have you down as the honorary consul for Grenada. But both of us know that you've demitted that office, and as such, your website needs to be updated. And the Netherlands, their governmental website, the Kingdom of the Netherlands, they need to update their website too, because they still have you down as the honorary consul. So you're seeing, let me show you all it again. And I think some of you all may want to see the plans for the hotel again. Let me make sure that you see what the plans for where the hospital is, what would be taking place there. Instead, yeah, you have to see the concept. Yeah, you have to see the concept drawings. And so instead of the hospital, this is what they want to put there. So when you hear them speaking about we want to move the hospital and there's an urgent need to move the hospital, understand where that urgent need, that urgent thing we need to move urgently and remove the hospital from where it is and put it somewhere else. Understand where that is coming from. It's not just coming from a place of we need to improve healthcare. It's coming from a place of the casino and hotel people behind us, they want to build. Understand that's where a lot of that is coming from. So we're seeing these situations and you need to understand what is taking place. Don't let anybody come and pull the wool over your eyes and give you the impression that we're just doing this because we love you so much and we want to do this. No, it's a situation where they have the full intention of removing the hospital and placing a hotel there. The investors are already pushing at them. Hey, get rid of the hospital. We need the spot. Get rid of the hospital. We need the spot. So when you hear things like people talking about they can't get medication and you're not seeing improvements taking place at the hospital facility, understand why. They want you to get fed up of the general hospital to say, hey, there is a need to build a new hospital somewhere else. They want you. They're pushing you. They want you to be upset. And no one is saying that healthcare in Grenada is perfect. Nobody is saying that it has been perfect before and it's not perfect now. Nobody is saying that it's going to be perfect in the next year or two. No one is saying that. We're saying understand. Who was the representative of the Netherlands? The people who helped put together this plan in the first place. Understand that. Then understand that there is a plan to transform that entire area into a tourism project, inclusive of the Carenage. So those of you that fishing on the Carenage that already been told you have to move, understand why. Those of you that have been fishing over on the Lagoon Road, the Karani James Boulevard, and have been told you have to move, understand why. These things ain't happening just so.
Let the dollar come down to make the man on the ground. Him not screw face, him now when no from let the dollar come down to the unfortunate one. To beg no one, he not stretch no hands. Pockets are empty, the economy has plenty. Poverty is a shame and that's no game. The treasury in surplus, but the people in minus. Man a ball and hold them head cause them account in red. Stuck with minimum wage, we now move to higher stage. Poverty is a crime, so who's doing the prison time? More the people procreate, less dollars circulate. So send down the guns eye before it's too late. Let the dollar come down to make the man on the ground. Him not screw face, him now when no from let the dollar come down to the unfortunate one. To beg no one, him not stretch. So them say we were born poor, should leave poor, and die poor. Nothing more. While the rich get rich, a tall fence, pitbull and cameras, desperate man still looks fi climb over. The system never truly cater for them in that strata. Though some days you may hand them $1. Check their standard of living, that's the real thing. Sustainability is the key. So let the dollar come down to make the man on the ground. Him not screw face, him now and the phone. Let the dollar come down to the unfortunate.
Yes, and for those of you trying to call, no. It's a pre-recorded program tonight. So as such, can't take calls and so, yeah, unless you call me during the day. But it's a pre-recorded program tonight. But definitely, I just need to let you all know, because sometimes you all don't know. So there are plans. And I'm not trying to give the impression that these plans only hatched over the last 9 months or 10 months. Letting you know that these plans pre-existed the present administration. But when you're hearing the moves being made by this administration, you know they are looking to implement certain aspects of that plan. So when you see Camper Nicholson take their money and pay and clean up the Lagoon Road And then a minister run in front and saying, well, he involved and is he. And they're trying to give the impression they are the ones that did it. Yeah? You have to understand that there is an existing plan by Camper and Nicholson to develop a green space on the Karani James Boulevard. Not by the Ministry of Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation. There is an existing plan by Camper Nicholson and some community persons to develop the green space there. And as such, individuals had to be asked to move and that kind of thing. But now you're hearing that the fishermen who previously were told that they would not have to move are now being told, oh, they had to go. All right? And then you know that there is a plan for the Carenage under that blue economy plan as well. And now you're hearing that the fishermen on the Carenage, for whatever reason, are being told that they have to go too. You need to go up Grand Mall or wherever, or you need to just, wherever all you go, but all you can't stay here. So they're being told that they have to go too. So we're seeing that aspect of it developing as well, right? So understand what is taking place. It's not just taking place willy-nilly. There seems to be a plan and a strategy as to what you're hearing taking place with the fishermen, what you're seeing the Prime Minister and a team. One pile of them convoy a vehicle going up in California, that's where, but back in the days of the Revo and their maneuvers. Yeah, they're going up there looking for the location. Look, I can't believe the phone is actually ringing. Yeah, looking for the location up there. All right? Looking for the location up there for where they're going to place the hospital to free up the location in town. So that, because they're not telling you that, okay, we're going to build a new hospital. They're not saying what they're doing with the existing one. Have they said? Have anybody in the media asked them, okay, you're looking for a new location for the general hospital. When you do that, what are you going to do with the old location? Maybe somebody needs to ask them that question. Yeah, somebody needs to ask them that question.
To the unfortunate one, to beg no one, he does stretch no hands. Pockets are empty, the economy has plenty. Poverty is a shame, and that's no game. The treasury in surplus, but the people in minus. Man, a ball and hold them head, cause them are counting red. Stuck with minimum wage, we now move to higher stage. Poverty is a crime, so who's doing the prison time? More the people procreate, less dollars circulate. So send down the guns high before it's too late. Dollar come down to make the man on the ground. Him now screw face, him now end up from let the dollar come down to the unfortunate one. To beg no one, him not stretch. So them say we were born poor, should leave poor, and die poor. Nothing more, while the rich get.
Yeah, just making sure it absorbs. And in fact, let me put it up because I want you all to see. Why they want to move the hospital. I want you all to see and understand why they want to move the hospital. Not because of any altruistic means that they're interested just in doing a better healthcare system for Grenadians and that kind of thing, but because they have use for the space where the hospital is. It blocking them. Blocking them. Yeah, that's the hotel that they want to put there. That is the hotel that they want to build in that location. I realize it wrapping around to all when Awasa is and thing going into that project too. Yeah? Coming back to with the Ministry of Finances there. Right? So understand what it is that they're pushing towards. You didn't hear the New National Party saying, we're going to move the hospital. It is this administration you're hearing saying that they want to move the hospital. The project was there, the proposal was there, right? But you didn't hear the New National Party coming and say, well, we're moving the hospital. And in fact, you saw them fixing the existing facility. And you wouldn't go and spend millions fixing the existing facility if you intend to move it. But this government decided, now we're moving forward with that. We're looking to build a new hospital in the next location. Yeah? So understand where that is coming from. In the same way that you've heard the statements in relation to Grenlec. And let me see if I could pull up that particular one for you. That you've heard the statements in relation to Grenlec and the intention of what they want to do with Grenlec. Yeah? So let me just pull the Grenlec statement up for you. Yeah, let me just hold that one there. Nice. Yeah, let me just let you hear the Grenlec statement.
How are you going to deal with the Grenlec situation?
No, well, I think at this stage I can't give you a definitive answer. I certainly would say my inclination is I'm not satisfied, even with an NDC administration, that the government should be the majority shareholder. Right? This is energy. It is a highly complex, highly capital-intensive industry. And so to me, what we need to look at is find a strategic partner or strategic shareholder in conjunction with the Grenadian shareholders, because you have to remember the National Insurance Scheme, the Grenada Ports Authority, and at least another 1,600 Grenadians are shareholders of that company. They've depended over the years on being paid the dividends. They've depended over the years on having a well-run company. And the employees have benefited, have been well paid, and for the most part, are probably some of the highest paid employees in Grenada. So what you want is a strategic partner that can allow the company to continue on that prior path of being well-run, profitable, where the employees are well taken care of, where we have a reliable supply of energy, and at the same time begin the process of transitioning to renewables, because that's also critical. As long as we're burning fuel, we're subject to the vicissitudes of the ups and downs of the cost of oil. And so it's important for us to have a strategic partner who wants to also invest in renewables and who wants to follow our policy goal of saying we need to have as much renewables penetrating our grid as possible. So that is the direction I think we are likely to go. And we really do want to push the renewables or any other form of alternative energy that is feasible in Grenada. So that is really what ideally the approach we would be taking.
But that is more long term. I mean, we can't have engines failing on us and load shedding and.
No, well then absolutely. So in that case, if we need to, if you have to buy the bullet, you buy the bullet. Which means if you have to recapitalize the company and you have to I don't see it as long term, frankly. Let me just back up a little. I actually think we could, once we do it properly, within 6 to 12 months, get a strategic partner who would come in, acquire a significant portion of the shares. You'd want a partner who clearly is already in the energy business and who's also has a strong renewables footprint. And I think that could happen in 6 to 12 months.
Any such companies on your radar yet?
No, not at this time. Simply because it's early days, we haven't had the time to look at that. But that's certainly one of the things we would look at.
So again, we understand now why the Prime Minister has decided that he wants to become the minister with full responsibility over Grenlec. He came in with a timeline, 6 to 12 months. This interview that you just saw via Carib Update and Kalistra Faria was done the day before he announced his cabinet. Not last week, not last month, not in January of this year. This was done last year, the day before, 1 day before announcing his cabinet. In other words, he didn't even have ministers in place. The only 2 people in place were him as Prime Minister and the Attorney General. Those were the only 2 people in place. So this interview took place a full day before he had his cabinet in place, and you heard him already mentioning at that time a 6 to 12-month period during which they would get rid of Grenlec. So let's ask ourselves a question. Do you really think that at that point in time, when he was saying that, no, we don't really have anybody in mind, that he was talking the truth? Or do you think the Prime Minister was lying? Because we caught him lying before, eh? So do you think he was talking the truth or that he was lying? Why would you want to sell Grenlec? And don't give us the thing about locals running it and that kind of thing. The majority of people working in Grenlec right now is locals. The majority of people. And as the New National Party had been saying, the approach should be allow the Grenadian people to own the shares. Instead of taking a bunch of shares, the majority of shares, and handing it to some company in Florida, so that the millions of dollars that come on a yearly basis in dividends for that go to that company in Florida, or go to a company in China, or go to a company in India, or go to a company in Canada, or wherever. Instead of that happening, and I know why I call those countries, instead of that happening, those millions of dollars would stay here and turn around in the Grenadian economy because the dividends are paid to Grenadians. But it seems as though, and not it seems, but I'm pretty sure that the intention of this administration is to sell the majority shares in Grenlec to one entity outside of Grenada, so that those millions of dollars in dividends are once again going to be leaving Grenadian shores and going to fatten other people's economy, not the Grenadian economy. And to expand our economy, use more electricity, we're continuing to fatten the economy of some other country and not our own. Again, the approach, in my view, should be offer to Grenadians. It could be companies, you never know. Huggins might decide that they want to purchase it. If Huggins purchase, they wouldn't be able to purchase the whole thing. Maybe not. But they might decide, hey, we want to purchase X amount of shares. So all the dividends go to Huggins and stay in Grenada. You might want to say, okay, whether it's the national insurance scheme, which is Masabul Masako because it's part of government anyway, or other entities here in Grenada. Or even me and you, average Grenadians, who may decide that we want to buy a few shares. So we buy X amount of shares and we know we get in a little dividends. So we don't mind. But at least to bring it to that level. Again, I want you to listen again carefully and tell me if the final question was answered truthfully. If you believe the Prime Minister honestly does not already have a buyer for Grenlec. Remember, you just take over the ministry in charge of it, huh? Yeah.
How are you going to deal with the Grenlec situation?
No, well, I think at this stage I can't give you a definitive answer. I certainly would say my inclination is I'm not satisfied, even with an NDC administration, that the government should be the majority shareholder. Right? This is energy. It is a highly complex, highly capital-intensive industry. And so to me, what we need to look at is find a strategic partner or strategic shareholder in conjunction with the Grenadian shareholders, because you have to remember the National Insurance Scheme, the Grenada Ports Authority, and at least another 1,600 Grenadians are shareholders of that company. They've depended over the years on being paid their dividends. They've depended over the years on having a well-run company. And the employees have benefited, have been well paid, and for the most part are probably some of the highest paid employees in Grenada. So what you want is a strategic partner that can allow the company to continue on that prior path of being well-run, profitable, where the employees are well taken care of, where we have a reliable supply of energy, and at the same time begin the process of transitioning to renewables, because that's also critical. As long as we're burning fuel, we're subject to the vicissitudes of the ups and downs of the cost of oil. And so it's important for us to have a strategic partner who wants to also invest in renewables and who wants to follow our policy goal of saying we need to have as much renewables penetrating our grid as possible. So that is the direction I think we are likely to go. And we really do want to push the renewables or any other form of alternative energy that is feasible in Grenada. So that is really what ideally the approach we would be taking.
But that is more long term. I mean, we can't have engines failing on us and load shedding and.
No, well then absolutely. So in that case, if we need to, if you have to buy the bullet, you buy the bullet, which means if you have to recapitalize the company and you have to I don't see it as long term, frankly. Let me just back up a little. I actually think we could, once we do it properly, within 6 to 12 months, get a strategic partner who would come in, acquire a significant portion of the shares. You'd want a partner who clearly is already in the energy business and who's also has a strong renewables footprint. And I think that could happen in 6 to 12 months.
Any such companies on your radar yet?
No, not at this time. Simply because it's early days, we haven't had the time to look at that. But that's certainly one of the things we would look at.
I have to say that I don't believe the Prime Minister. I believe that he already knows who they want to sell Grenlec to. They are creating the prevailing environment and situation where they believe they would not meet a lot of resistance to the sale of Grenlec. Yeah? But I'm saying to you all Grenadians at the same time to get ready. Because if you all want to sit down and allow Grenlec to end up in the hands of foreigners once again, and all of your money that you're putting into Grenlec, instead of coming back to your economy, go in and boost up the multi-trillion-dollar economy in a place like Florida or wherever. If you want your money to end up there, that's up to you. I ain't sitting down quietly and let it happen to me. I'm saying that openly. I am not willing to sit by and allow it to happen to me. And you see all the chess pieces being put in place. I'm not a chess player. I just play a little bit of drafts, maybe dominoes. Chess is not my game. But you could see the various pieces being put in place to achieve this particular objective. Because remember, the now minister has also been the lawyer representing WRB against the Grenadian people. The same person who sits in the office of Prime Minister now, who last week, well, actually our hearing is week before, assumed the office of Minister of Works, Infrastructure, Public Utilities. He's now the minister with the responsibility for Grenlec. And he was the lawyer that fought against the government of Grenada on behalf of the then shareholders in Grenlec when the NNP government fixed the laws from that nonsense, disgusting, stupid piece of document that was signed in 1994. One of these programs, I'm going to go through it, I'm going to call on Honorable Gregory Bowen. And we're going to go over the agreement that was signed between the NDC administration and WRB. And we're going to go over the share purchase agreement from 1994 so that you, the average Grenadian, could understand the massive sellout that took place. And you can't blame WRB. Their business, that is one thing. I ain't blaming them. You feel I hate them? I don't hate them. Yeah, their business. What are you going in business to do? Make friend or make money? Make up your mind. According to the guy in Trinidad, is that to make the money? You want friend. You want money. That's what they want. So if they get the opportunity to make 20 million instead of 2 million, you think they will say, we go make 2 million, we like Grenada, so let Grenada make the other 18. No, they're going to make the 20 million. And they won't give back at 200,000 and say, well, that's what we give it earlier. Hold that. You understand? We nice people. Hold it 200,000. That's what they would do. So you can't vex with WRB. You have to vex with your government that was in place in 1994, and it was not an NNP government. The government that was placed in 1994 when the agreement to sell Grenlec was done. Where it had things inside there, for instance. You have a piece of property and you have water flowing through your property. You have a little stream or a river or something flowing through. And so, that the government could seize your property. Then the government, which represents you, have to pay you for the property. So they're taking your money to pay you for that property. And then they had to give it to Grenlec for free. That is part of what was in that 1994 Act. That you couldn't have solar panels and produce electricity unless Grenlec gave you permission to do that. Yeah? They could take it to court. And they did end up taking a few people to court when they started doing that kind of thing. So don't get tied up. Their full intention, the full intention of this Prime Minister is to sell Grenlec. And you see how they was making the chess moves from early up. So Miss Andrea St. Bernard, she ended up on the board of directors of Grenlec. Yeah, she's on the board of directors of Grenlec. But she is now also an envoy, investment envoy on behalf of Grenada. In other words, she can go out there and get people to invest in Grenada. Invest in what? Probably Grenlec. So she could go out and find a buyer for 100 million, 200 million, 300 million, 400, $500 million. She can go out there and find a buyer for Grenlec on behalf of the people of Grenada. And she's legally, she's entitled to do so. So she's a special envoy on trade issues on behalf of the state of Grenada. In fact, let's hear her appointment.
We have appointed a couple of sectoral ambassadors, highlighting the government's thrust in the area of health. Dr. Trevor Lynn has been appointed as our Global Health Ambassador. We have also appointed Mr. Orlando Romain as Special Envoy for the creative economy and information communication technology. Mr. Romain will be based in Grenada. And another special envoy, this time for development and investment in the Prime Minister's office, Ms. Andrea St. Bernard, who is an attorney by profession and has considerable experience in the field of investment.
So yeah, but we've also seen that Miss Andrea St. Bernard, and let me see, for those of you, I know some of you are on radio, so you're not seeing what I'm playing, but let me see if I can pull up here for those of you that are on, the board of directors of Grenlec, and let me. So for those of you that are seeing there, yeah, I think the audio went down there. But Miss Andrea St. Bernard, she is one of the board, the directors on the board of Grenlec. And she's now also an investment envoy. So she has the responsibility to go out there and find people to invest money in Grenada. We know that she was previously involved with Henley. I don't know if previously or still involved with Henley and Partners Grenada. We know as well that she's also the treasurer on behalf of the National Democratic Congress. So we know that when they had to get money, she had to go too. So we don't know. You see, that's the thing. You take a treasurer of your party and you put them as an investment officer. So let's just find out then, if that individual goes out there and they are approached by an entity that says, look, we are willing to purchase Grenlec. We are willing, and I'm just using a hypothetical situation here. Yeah, don't sue me for this one. But we're just using a hypothetical situation. They can't sue for that anyhow. We are willing to purchase Grenlec. Nice. We're willing to purchase Grenlec. And we are willing to pay, let's say, 500 million for it. And we'll give you a finder's fee of 10%. That for your political organization. That could possibly happen. Would we know? How would we know? Because remember, the same person that's going out there looking for the investment is the treasurer of the National Democratic Congress. That's the person that's there to raise funds on their behalf. So we have to be careful with that sort of thing. But many of us, we see these things going on in our place and we have nothing to say. Some of us have nothing to say and some of us are afraid. Not us. Some of you all afraid to talk. I ain't afraid. I'm saying it. Because I can't take me to court for anything I'm saying. I am asking questions about moves that I'm seeing taking place. So if you have Ms. Andrea St. Bernard as a member of the board of directors of Grenlec, then she is now placed as an envoy, a diplomatic envoy for the state of Grenada, right? Specific to investment. So she's the one that goes out there and could find people to buy Grenlec. Yeah? To negotiate with the people who want to put the hotel where the hospital is. You see how you come back? That's the same person to go out and negotiate with them, to find the people. I believe they have them already, but they maybe have negotiation because the people may call in one figure and they call in the next. So they need somebody to be able to go and negotiate with them. To find and negotiate with people for all of those projects. Yeah? But the same individual is also the treasurer of the NDC. The ruling political party. The same person is the treasurer, who you've given a diplomatic passport. And with that passport come certain privileges. No, they don't have diplomatic immunity or across the board, no. People respect a diplomatic passport generally. You go to an airport, they see it, they respect it also, but you don't have diplomatic immunity under the Geneva Convention unless you are accredited to a particular country. That country has received you and taken you on board and so. And even with diplomatic immunity, if you commit a particular crime in that country, they can request of Grenada to remove your diplomatic immunity so that you can be prosecuted for that crime. All right? So let's just understand that. As I said, I'm not here to lie. I'm here to put the facts forward. And you take from it as you want. But we're going to put the facts forward here. That she is the treasurer of the NDC. Right? The other day we heard she was in CES or some kind of thing like that. She was in MES, CES or MES, one of them. She was in charge of sharing all the money in CES. And let me say something. While they're saying CES closed, people getting money, you know? Oh, I didn't know. Up to just last week and week before, it still have people getting money under that program. Because I'm pretty sure that those couple of thousands of dollars that passing out there, not passing out from the coffers of the National Democratic Congress. So while some of you applied September, October, November last year, trying to get funding under the CES program, you know what they did? 2 months ago, they called NDC people, not Grenadians in general, not people who they don't know which political side they support, or they maybe say they like NDC, but they're not sure they vote for them. They called who they knew for a fact were supporters of the National Democratic Congress, including family members of sitting MPs. Tell me a lie. Including family members of sitting MPs. They called them to a meeting in Grandance only for NDC members to speak about the grant program. These people applied and are now receiving funding under that program. There are businesses who are holding checks right now from the program on behalf of these people who didn't apply last year and year before, but were called in 2 months ago and are now receiving items and goods under that program when everybody else is being told that the program shut down. That is taking place right now. Right now. So there are people who are receiving goods, who are receiving items, who payments are being made for by the government of Grenada under that program, right? Who didn't apply last year, who were called into a special meeting only for NDC people in Grand Anse Valley. I'll give you all the exact date. Grand Anse Valley, just had to check back some information there. In Grand Anse Valley, they were called in to a special meeting only for NDC people. As if the money in the treasury is only NDC people alone. You know how many people apply for funding under CES and refuse for all sorts of nonsense reasons? Have all the documents in order, they were able to show their financials, everything, and they were refused. But now you have people with no history of having a business. They haven't done any business training. But they are being funded simply because they work on somebody's campaign, they're related to a senior member within the NDC executive or a government minister. Yeah? And I would like them to challenge me on the fact that there are ministers who have family members that recently have been receiving money on behalf of the CES program. Challenge me on that. Take me to court or something and let's have that out in court so I could get access to certain documents I don't have yet. You understand? Well, not that I might get them, but I don't have it yet. Nice? But do that. Take it to court. Yeah? Because I'm accusing, when I say government ministers, all of you are being accused. And so one of them, I mean, sue me. Yeah, take it to court. I know. But this is what is taking place here right now. And remember, the two people in charge were Miss Andrea St. Bernard at the CES program, Ms. Andrea St. Bernard, who, at the point in time that she held that position, was and remains the treasurer of the National Democratic Congress. And you also had Mr. Quince Britton, and we're going to talk further about him in tomorrow's program, yeah, who was a sitting senator and remains a sitting senator at that point in time that he was working along with the CES program. Yeah? So we have some further discussions to have tomorrow night, you know. We have some further discussions to have tomorrow night. I don't want to get into them tonight because I don't find I'm going to have enough time to do them justice. But we have some more discussions to go into tomorrow night. Definitely we have some discussions. Folks, remember, it is a pre-recorded program tonight. But tomorrow we go back to normal, yeah? I'll be in studio live, taking your calls, taking your messages, all of that. So even though I have it scrolling that tonight's program is pre-recorded, I'm still saying it every now and again, huh? And remember, on Thursday night at 8 p.m., Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, former Prime Minister, political leader of the New National Party, and leader of the opposition, he will be on from 8 p.m. You'll be getting him via the Talking Points Network, but you'll also be getting him via Real FM and We Noise Radio and Sister Isle FM and so on. He'll be right around. Yeah? Nice. Because you know, he have a lot to talk about, and there's several issues. We're talking about issues here on this program, and he has a lot of issues that he has to speak about as well. So you will be hearing him, yeah, in an interview speaking about the different issues that are affecting you. So understand how the chess pieces are being moved, yeah? So you have people who are now being placed as the special envoys in different places, and I know some members of the NDC are meeting me and they're complaining. NDC, I didn't make any mistake. I didn't say some members of the NNP are meeting me and complain. I said some members of the NDC are meeting me and complain. How one or two people getting all them position within the NDC? If it had nobody else that they could find to get local position. So how come somebody like Mr. Orlando Romain, advisor, special envoy, and he on about 2 or 3 boards? So if one of them board and them, or at least 2 of the boards, or all 3, they couldn't find anybody else to put on those boards. If the parties only speak about young people and having young people on each of the boards, when you look at the boards, you look at the board of directors and so on, and most of the boards is elderly people. And let's make it clear, and we don't have a problem with elder people being on the boards of directors. There's no problem with that. But the promise made by the NDC was that young people would be given the opportunity to sit on these boards. And they even did training with people to understand how to operate on these boards. And when you look at the faces there, you realize the average median age there is about 50. So you're not talking about young people there. 50, that look at the median age. You ain't see nobody like a teenager, somebody in their 20s, somebody in their 30s. I looked there, I couldn't see a picture of anybody in their 20s or 30s there. But upper 40s, 50s, 60s and above, yeah. That's the people on the boards. So they've been saying one and doing the other. And that has become the trademark of this NDC administration. Because every single thing that they accused the New National Party of, you see they're doing that and worse. Anything they accuse the New National Party of, you see them doing that and worse. So NDC people meeting me, me Sheldon, and telling me, but talk about that. These fellas can't be doing that thing. Only one set of man getting all the play. One set of man. Look Orlando. Now he a red passport. So, his advisor. in ministry. He's director on one board, chairman on the next board, a director probably on the next board. Still he come back and special envoy now. When it comes to the creative art, that is the man that guiding the process. When it comes to GIS, Government Information Service, that is the man that guiding the process. So you all over. So you're telling me they can't find nobody else. I'm telling you what I saying. I'm telling you what the NDC people saying. Miss Andrea St. Bernard, she's on the board of directors at Grenlec. She's a special envoy. She was in charge of the CES program. And from what you're picking up, she's also an advisor, it seems. Because they refuse to give a proper list of the advisors. They have, to this point in time, the NDC administration bluntly refuses to provide the information as to who are the advisors they have for the $5,000 and $6,000 and $7,000 a month. And more. They refuse to give that list. Let me say it again. They have bluntly refused to give that list. It's been requested in Parliament. They keep giving some sort of roundabout thing, missing names and all kind of thing. And they refuse to say how much these people are working for or where they are attached and all of that. They have refused. Yeah? They have bluntly refused to do that. And there are the reasons why they're doing that. You're talking about people that they've hired. And then you're asking about, for instance, the press secretary and how much they're working for. And I'm hearing from very reliable sources, salary of $10,000 and above with other perks. That's what I'm hearing. In other words, it seems as though the press secretary's salary might even be more than some of the government ministers' salary. You understand? That the press secretary's salary has the possibility of even being higher than some of the government ministers' salary. But you're asking questions and you're not getting the answers. They continually refuse to provide the answers to the Grenadian people in relation to those issues. And again, we're left to ask the question, why? What are they hiding? Well, you find I talk all night and I say nothing about data protection bill. No, we're doing a program on that this week. And they go and they pass it Thursday. No, we go do a program on that. It ain't done, you know. If they think that it's done, that oh, they pass it and that's the end of the story, and we have nothing to say on that again, and that's the end of that, and forget about the data protection bill. If they think that's the end of that story, no. In the same way, I'll always remind Grenadians that we're hearing the name of the Minister for Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation calling in relation to certain criminal activities on the port. We're hearing allegations that he was involved in those things. We're hearing the allegations and we want to find out if it's so or if it's not so. We don't know. We can't say it's he. We can't say it's not he. We can't say it's true. We can't say it's not true. What we can say is that we hearing his name calling. Yeah? We hearing his name calling in relation to goods leaving the port and come out in the middle of the night. We hearing his name. So if they feel we're going to leave that alone, no, we ain't leaving it alone. If they feel that we're going to leave alone other issues that have come up about people selling people vehicle and joint statements supposed to come out, and up to now, as I say, I don't know if they went and get the paper, if they're still plucking out the seed and thing, you know, you'll see them fellas stand up by the shop and thing and they're plucking out weed and thing and whatever else they're taking out from it. We don't know if they're still cleaning it, but we're waiting on the joint statement. And up to now, weeks later, we still can't hear the joint statement. We've heard as well about the situation with the issuing of contracts through constituency offices. And we were promised further information in relation to that months now. Up to now, we can't hear anything. We are not being told anything. And we're not getting any further information in relation to those things. So if they think that we're going to just forget all of that, or they think we're just going to say, well, that is that, forget that. No, we're going to continue to ask the questions until we get answers. Or until more people start to ask the questions. Because we cannot just remain quiet and docile. We have to protect our country by any means necessary. Folks, that's all the time we have for Talking Points tonight. It's been wonderful being here with you. My name is Sheldon Scott, and as usual, in everything you say and do it safe and secure. We want to be speaking to and with you and not about you. And we'll be back, God's willing, tomorrow night from 8 p.m. with more Talking Points. Not a recorded program tomorrow night. but a live program. Yeah, we're going to be live tomorrow night. All right. So we look forward to interacting with you tomorrow night on Talking Points. Again, my name is Sheldon Scott. I am out of here. Love each and every one of you.
They say when you don't have good food, you must take in front. So this is my Kaiso for the Masgrad 2023. Make sure you all come out and support me. No politics, just Kaiso. Let's go. There is no place in the world like Grenada. Its people are so unique, so fabulous. They take politics real serious. You can't tell a man nothing wrong about his party. He'll deal with you so seriously, and from there on you are.